Story 1. There's a study that's been done on own group preference, Rusman Goodwin 2004, that explains some of this. It doesn't address this directly, but is an offshoot for how women see other women and how they see men. Story 2. I think women assume that men are as intimate and open with the people we hang out with as they are. Women make an effort to thoroughly understand every other woman in their circle. Most men don't know the last names of half the guys in their circle. Story 3. I think a lot of women believe that sexism, discrimination, domestic violence, and sexual violence are topics that all men discuss when they get together. These issues persist because some so-called feminist or leftist men are not calling out their friends for such behavior. In reality, the men who engage in these actions either keep them a secret or only associate with others who behave similarly. Story 4. I got cornered and personally attacked by a woman at a party because a relationship with a mutual friend of ours ended badly for her. They only dated for a couple of months, and this woman made it sound like this guy ruined her life forever. I have never felt so attacked for something I didn't do or have a part of. I'm not taking sides, and you are a big girl. Story 5. Because it has become acceptable to group people together when they are considered powerful. Also, they seem to think that those who commit rape will inform their law-abiding friends about their actions and that men should act like Batman when they are not working or doing chores. Story 6. Let's be honest, it's not just women pushing this logical fallacy. Judging a group by the behavior of some people in that group is painfully common. Let me phrase it better. Condemning an entire group based on the worst behavior of a subset of that group is wrong and ignorant. It's especially problematic when it's not a group you choose to be a part of, like race, age, or sex. Story 7. Because good men are the only ones willing to listen to women complain about bad men. They think we do not teach men how to behave well, not that bad men are intentionally going against the expectations or that they are not speaking in spaces where those misogynistic communities will hear them. The internet gives them the feeling that their outreach is working, not that they are preaching to a choir with some trolls in it. Story 8. The smart ones just expect us to call out bad behavior. The standard you walk past is the standard you accept. The rest is just noise and fear of men. Story 9. Seems kind of strange to ask a bunch of men why women do something. If I wanted to know why my neighbor Bill did something, I would ask Bill. Story 10. I'm not accountable for anything that other men do. I have 0 male friends currently, and have only had 3 close male friends my entire life. 2 of them are dead, and I lost contact with the other decades ago. My friends are all women and have been for the last 45 years, except for the aforementioned 3. Many women think that male friends bond and influence each other, but that's just not the way things are. I've never shared 90% of the things with my male friends that I have with my female friends. With male friends, the topics of conversation are never very deep at all, superficial at best. Men do not bond with friends like women do. Women need to get that thought right out of their heads now and save themselves problems in the future. Even my best friend, who I grew up with and who was like a brother to me, didn't have heart-to-heart talks like women do with their friends. Having almost exclusively female friends for most of the last 5 decades taught me a lot about the differences between male friendships and female friendships. My female friends have always just considered me another woman, just with a different perspective, and have treated me as such. I know more about periods, tampons, pads, breast cancer, pregnancy, childbirth, and the female perspective of sex and relationships than most any male ever has. I credit that to the longevity of my almost 29-year relationship with my wife and partner, and the incredible experiences we've had over that time. My relationships in my life would have probably ended long before they did if most of my friends had been male. So no, I do not tolerate those who can't see their faults and do right. The only thing I've been able to do is confront those who have chosen to do wrong in front of me. One would hope the memory of that might prevent them from making the wrong choices the next time. Not that I can know that firsthand. Story 11. Because feminists, ironically enough, still have the basic gendered idea that men are collectively responsible for the welfare of women and have no problem running campaigns with titles like "It is on men" to try to shame men for not protecting women from random other men, because of course men are responsible for protecting women, and of course, we should shame men who do nothing wrong but do not put their own safety in jeopardy to defend some woman. Yes, men and women are equal, but of course, Men are still responsible for protecting women. And if some random woman you do not know is harmed in some other city you have never been to and you did not prevent it, you should be ashamed. Hugh Hannah Waddingham Shame Meme. Story 12. The most vocal groups also tend to be the less logical. The few interactions I had on that topic were basically expected to call out bad behavior. Sure, I'll just do that once bad behavior appears in front of me, which is barely ever. Story 13. It's a universal phenomenon to attribute the actions of an individual to that of the group. Religion, ethnicity, social class, gender, women holding all men accountable for other men is just a specific example. Story 14. I don't think there's a collective of women thinking like that, just a loud minority. But the ones that do are a pain. Go preach at somebody else's chapel, ma'am. Story 15. The vast majority of men don't associate with those sorts, and if we did know one, we would call it out when we saw it and then distance ourselves. Only the most dishonorable man would condone cheating, whereas women often encourage other women cheating. I'm aware the internet is not the real world, but you are far more likely to find accountability in a men's group than any women's group. Research also has shown women have a significantly stronger automatic in-group bias than men. Story 16. It kind of sounds like you're saying women when you mean a few people on the internet. Not only are there no men I know personally who are taking despicable actions, but there are also no women I know who expect men to take accountability for other men's actions. You, sir, are overly engaged online. Also, your question is very open-ended, so I will say that if you are close friends with a guy who is taking despicable actions, you do actually need to take accountability by making them take accountability. You can't just say, "It wasn't me," when one of your friends is doing harmful things. Story 17. I don't know many women who want men to take accountability for other men's actions, but I know a lot of women who want us to hold each other accountable. That means not approving of bad behavior no matter who it affects. Like, if your buddy is cheating on his wife or partner, then it would be helpful, I'm sure, to actually pressure him to stop and come clean about it. If you know a guy who talks down to women or talks over women a lot, then it would be good to tell him to stop. When women want men to hold each other accountable, it's usually because they're only seeing the bad behavior towards women from the men in their lives, but we should also be holding each other accountable for the way we treat each other. Story 18. Because women don't want to take accountability for their own actions and decisions. This happens often when women make a series of poor sexual decisions with men they were with before they met you. They picked irresponsible men, or the men they picked did a bunch of mean things to them. They feel like other men hurt them, and they've resolved that it's never going to happen to them again. The inevitable result of that is women demanding that the men they're involved with now pay for the mistakes of their past partners. Story 19. It's called prejudice. Blaming all members of a group for the actions of a few. You cannot call it out because then you seem like you are defending bad men or not caring about women. Eventually, you learn being a man means you have to rise above it. Story 20. Ironically, the same women who do that also tend to vote for policies like no cash bail that allow bad people to reoffend before they even have their day in court and have no incentive to show up. If we just kept the troublemakers locked up, it would solve a lot of problems. Story 21. Men actually hold each other accountable for poor decisions and bad actions. Women almost always support and encourage these things in other women, so they assume we do the same. Story 22. Men are taught to take accountability for everything. Sure, add another one to the list. Then ask the same men to protect them. Guess what? The perverts are never going to admit they are perverts to other men. They are afraid of getting ostracized. Story 23. I don't know, but if that is the standard, they have got some serious accountability issues to deal with themselves, so they had better get on that before trying to preach it to everyone else. Story 24. It's mostly an internet thing. Very rarely have I ever met women who want innocent men to take accountability for the actions of men they had nothing to do with. I suspect that these women don't get out much. Story 25. I think the question should be, why do women want men to take accountability for other women's actions? Prime examples being men being blamed when a woman physically or emotionally abuses him, cheats on him, etc., and the popular mindset being, what did he do wrong? Story 26. Wrong subreddit, but probably because women are now taught by the also powerful social media that they can't be wrong, and that men are inherently horrible. Story 27. I don't think it's so much about accountability, but about having empathy and the emotional intelligence to understand why the bad actions of other men can impact the way they view men as a whole. There are definitely some men out there that encourage those bad actions or let them slide when a friend does them. You won't be asked to take accountability by any sane person if you are actively against those actions. Story 28. That's how foreign accountability is to them as a concept. They're not even sure what it is, let alone how it works or where it applies in real-life situations. Story 29. As a man, I think most of the behavior that feels like women expecting men to take accountability for other men's actions is just wanting to see a man say that some messed up behavior is messed up. I suspect a lifetime of excuses or excusing the behavior for men left to bad taste. Story 30. Responsibility. No. My belief is they would hope men would recognize there are scary people out there, and sometimes it might be beneficial to make it obvious you're not. Say good morning. If they don't respond, no worries, have a nice day. Keep walking. Cross the street, a little bit of exercise and she's not worried. Don't acknowledge her. Look at the stairs and admire or criticize their workmanship instead of looking up. Be respectful. I think you might be hard-pressed to find a single woman that hasn't been demeaned, assaulted, exploited, or abused just because she's a she. Story 31. They are just gaslighting. It's a way for them to keep their moral superiority and feel like they are the better gender. It's foolish, and you'll just waste your breath dealing with such people. We live in the safest time in history. They have no real problems, so they create problems. Ask any rational, decently smart, reasonable woman, and she'll tell you the same thing. Some women tend to create problems when they have none and love attention. That's why false accusations are on the rise. They get attention from being a victim, making it harder for actual victims. I asked a girl one time how we can hold them accountable. She said, and I kid you not, I don't know, you guys figure it out. Men used to get together and beat up creeps. They quite literally want us to ruin our lives, destroy our livelihoods, and lose the ability to support our families. When I told her that, she said, it shouldn't matter. A real man wouldn't care about the consequences. He should be willing to spend time in jail to do the right thing. They don't care about us. Story 32. I'm sorry for intruding, but as a woman, in my opinion, expecting men to take accountability for other men's actions is completely unfair and improper. Any woman who does this thinks that innocent men should be punished and perceived negatively due to the actions of separate individuals. In my opinion, this is very immature and foolish. However, what we do expect is for men to hold other men accountable, and this isn't just about men. We expect humans to hold other humans accountable. Some men will be more tolerant of bad behavior from other men than they would be if it was a woman. For example, if there's a racist woman, many men will tell her she is offensive and rude. However, when a man is racist, it's just funny, and you don't control him. It doesn't seem fair. I know this isn't always the case, just an example I could think of. Story 33. I think most of them expect men to acknowledge and show some empathy for their broad experiences with many, many men, instead of immediately adopting a well, not all men attitude in the face of their exhaustingly lived experiences. Call me crazy. Story 34. I'm most likely going to get downvoted for this, but here's what I think. Women are much more likely to operate on a groupthink mentality. They are more inclined to get together and make decisions collectively. So when one of them makes a mistake, they can blame it on the group instead of taking individual accountability. They take that mentality when dealing with men and think we operate that way when men generally don't. Men are much more likely to make decisions by themselves, and therefore, if they make a mistake, they do so individually. That being said, some people are simply unaware and don't realize there's no annual patriarchy meeting that all men attend. Story 35. Because going on about it to someone feels like they are doing something. They are not, of course, but presumably they feel good for saying bad stuff is bad. You should not do bad stuff. Or, if it is not, I do not know why they would keep doing it. Story 36. Men are seen as having comparative physical and social power, and are expected to step up and use that power for good. But at the same time, The psychopaths that hurt women are also very likely to victimize other men too, so there is only so much that can be self-policed. Story 37. I'm very talkative and have many friends of both genders. 95% of deep confessions occur only with women. I even know intimate details of their sentimental and sexual lives. Meanwhile, for my male friends, I barely know where they work or how many children they have.